Happy Monday. And in this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, we are going to do a draft stock post check. Stay tuned to hear our thoughts on Jase Richardson, Alex Condon, VJ Edgecombe, and more. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my brother who happens to be my co-host, or my co-host who happens to be my brother, James. And before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets. $200. It was $150. $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let me say 200. I said 200. I forgot who I was talking to. $200 in bonus bets. Also, check out the Locked On newsletter. You can check it out at lockedondaily.com. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Also, and if you are not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we're coming at you at least 5 days a week. And big shout out to all the new subscribers. The numbers keep going up and up and up. We are getting closer to draft time. Some teams are pretty much out of it already. Some teams or fan bases are already looking forward to the 2025 NBA draft. A couple of teams a little bit earlier than expected. And that's why we are doing a draft stock post check. We're going to talk about some players that had strong performances this weekend and how this weekend's games may have a little bit of impact on their draft range. All right, James, big weekend of college hoops. The last weekend of the regular season for most teams. Conference tournaments start up this week. I think I'm going to go to the AAC tournament just because it's in Fort Worth. I think there's about 5 prospects in that conference that I really want to check out. I've spoken to some NBA GMs and scouts, and everybody is talking about going to the SEC tournament. And I'm just like, yeah, you can pretty much almost get your whole draft class in that tournament. So I want to hear your opinion on the player from this weekend's game that you believe did the most for his draft stock.
So the player that did the most for his draft stock, for me, not for everybody else, but for me, I'm going to go with Jase Richardson from Michigan State. I believe the last time I talked about him, I was like, he's on the smaller side. I think he's stuck in between positions, which I still think he is, but it hit me. I guess what the kids call it, an epiphany hit me. And I think is going to help his draft stock is that we look at what Jared McCain did before he got hurt, right? He was a 6'4", 6'3" combo guard shooter. And he was playing extremely well in Philadelphia before he got hurt. Didn't get a chance to hit a rookie wall. If he was going to hit it or not is, we don't know. But I feel like Jase Richardson compares very favorably to him. And I don't know if GMs are going to, I guess you could say, make the same mistake twice. But in comparison to Jared McCain, Jase Richardson, 59.2% effective field goal percentage. Jared McCain last year was at 57.5%. True shooting percentage, Jase Richardson is 64.7%, and Jared McCain 61%. So, with that being said, he might just be too good of a shooter, good enough playmaker to pass up on. And I had him at the 20s, and I think he might be a late lottery pick at this rate.
That's very interesting. We are talking about Jase Richardson, freshman guard from Michigan State. And I said guard because that's kind of one of the debates. What position is he? Is he a 1? Is he a 2? He's listed at 6'3", 185, and he had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists against Michigan on Sunday. He was 6 of 10 from the floor. And that follows up a 22.4 rebound, 2 assist game against Iowa. So I was at the Dallas Mavericks game on Sunday, and I was sitting next to an agent. And, doing like I always do, and most agents or any basketball fan does. While you're at the game, you're checking your box score to see other games, and the agent pulls out his phone. He points to me. He's like, "Man, this is a kid that I just don't know about." And it was Jase Richardson. So it was right after the game. And he was saying, and it's just general conversation. He doesn't represent him, or I don't even think he's trying to recruit him. He was like, "Man, the production is there, but I just think he's too small. He's not a 1 or he's not a 2. I've talked to other people that are like, you can't put him in a box. He's just a gamer." And so I've seen some people say he's the 2025 version of Reed Shepherd. And I mentioned that to this particular agent, and he was like, "Well, I'm not a big fan of that Reed Shepherd archetype anyway." So with that being said, he also mentioned that he's seen some people talk about him as a lottery pick online, and he doesn't necessarily see it. So in your opinion, is he like a Reed Shepherd, Jared McCain type guard that maybe not a 1, maybe not a 2, but the production and efficiency is too good to pass up? And why is he a potential lottery pick in your opinion?
So I have no issue with Reed Shepherd. I think Reed can hoop. I just think that he was in the doghouse and, confidence got shaky. But I mean, was it last week against the Thunder when he had to play? Like, he was extremely productive. He was hitting shots off the dribble. And I also buy Reed as a point guard long term. I think he manipulates pick and roll very well, and he's such a good shooter. I think he is, but I mean, we'll see if it's with the Rockets, see what they do. Maybe they try to add some veteran scoring punch to that roster next year. McCain, again, I was lower on McCain because, and even when he was getting loose in the NBA, like, you can't deny his shooting ability. I question his finishing ability, which was, I think it was like at 47% at the rim. But like, he was making shots, and ultimately it's just hard to argue guys making shots. I think with Jase Richardson, it's going to come down to who has the pick, what team, and where we are. If it's a team like Orlando who struggled to find shooting, off the ball scoring outside of the two playmaking fours and Franz and Paolo, I think you do it. But just looking at the roster, picking at 10, and I'm taking that right now. Does Portland pick Jase Richardson? I don't think so, unless they move on from Anthony Simons. But again, that still doesn't make sense, right? Does the Heat do it? Would the Heat do it? I could see the Heat doing it in that range because Tyler Hero can handle the ball, make plays. Bam can make plays. And Terry Rozier is on some other stuff right now. Can do the Mavs do it? I don't think the Mavs would do it because if Luka's not there anymore. It would make sense if Luka were there, but he's not there. Doesn't make sense for the Hawks. It makes perfect sense for Orlando, like I mentioned. So I think it's going to come down to what team likes him, like any other opportunity for a player. But like, if a team that has like established wings and they're not asking him to be like a lead point guard, then I can see him going 10 to 15. It just depends on where the ping pong balls fall.
I don't have him in the lottery range. I put it like that. But in my notes, I have he's an efficient scorer, really good shooter when his feet are set, smart player, high IQ, has excellent touch on his floater. Like at one point, and I haven't looked at the numbers in a few days, or I haven't looked at the updated numbers, but he was shooting 72% at the rim. And it's because he does not miss that floater. He attacks closeouts. And my concern is like, one, the size. He's listed at 6'3", 185. Not incredibly small. He plays a lot off the ball at Michigan State. There's like a play that stands out when you watch his film that he's always in the right corner. And they run this play where it's like a curl where it allows him to get downhill going left. And he's good at shooting the pull-up jumper or shooting the floater when he gets to the basket. But the concern, does he have more game than he can show?
But here's the thing. Like, he played with the Boozer brothers in high school at Columbus in Florida. So, and he played off the ball, a very similar role that he's playing right now. But even like his assists, he's a ball mover and he can pass when he gets downhill. I've never seen him make a pocket pass. And again, is that how they're using him or can he just not make it? I don't know, but I've never seen him make a pocket pass. A lot of his his very good plays that he makes are when he's downhill and he'll hit guys on wraparounds. But like I said, I just think that, teams, overthought Jared McCain, and it's like he's 6'3" and he can score. Good enough passer, good enough playmaker, and you just figure it out from there.
Yeah, and that's why I say it could be a concern because he may have more game than he can show, and that could come back to bite you in the butt if you are a team that passed on him. All right, up next, we're going to talk about, in my opinion, the hottest prospect in college basketball, and it is Florida's Alex Condon. But before we get into the second segment, I have something for you. NBA fans, get ready. When they get buckets, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's very simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So I think last week, Steph Curry and James Harden have 50-point performances, and you can celebrate similar 50-point performances by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot, and they can be delivered right to your door. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, and it's up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Again, DoorDash.com. All right, second segment, Alex Condon. In my opinion, I think he is the fastest rising prospect in college basketball. I didn't have him on any of my previous big boards, actually big board 1 and 2. I moved him up to like the early second round on big board 3.0, but that's outdated. Alex Condon is a first round pick, and he's fresh off a game where he had 17 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists versus Ole Miss. He was 6 of 7 from the floor. He had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks versus Alabama. He is the type of big that has a game that just fits the modern NBA. What are your thoughts on Alex Condon?
I'm mad at myself because I kept seeing his name, and I guess you could say I ignored it. And I feel like I was waiting too long. Like, he's a first round pick and good athlete. He will shoot the 3 ball. He is fast.
Mm-hmm.
Not for like a big, like he's like legit fast. He runs the floor, good with both hands, and he plays with like the energy and passion that you want to see from your bigs. And I think he's got good touch around rim, good passer. My biggest concern with him though, and again, he's ultra productive, and like I put out a big board in February, and I feel like I got to redo it already just because I was asleep on Alex Condon. And Jase has been crashing and moving up, feels like with every game. But 2 concerns with Alex Condon. I've read that he has a 7-foot wingspan, and I think that they list him at 6'11". So that means he's what, +1 on the wingspan. And again, that is not great. But again, he's a good athlete. But I do think he kind of like lacks strength in a sense that, I mean, obviously, like when you go against Jokic is bullying everybody. But I think he is just like narrow chest, and he's a bit on the skinny side. I think that may be a problem for him at the next level because he's going to get ran through. He's not like super duper skinny, but I just don't think he has a lot of upper body strength. Now, again, you could hit the weight room and all that other good stuff, but I think that may be an issue. But as far as just running and dunking and occasionally hitting a 3, he's got it.
Well, I had on my concerns for him is that he does have a thin frame. You don't know how much he's going to bulk up, and then can he maintain his fluidity and athleticism if he adds weight? Another concern I had was that I felt like he's a good athlete, but he didn't have like great quick twitch vertical pop. like that dunker spot, quick twitch, like Asa Newell has it, or JT Toppin has it. I felt like he's like a tier below them as far as just quick twitch, dunker spot, vertical athleticism. But overall, there's a lot to like about his game. 6'11", Australian kid. And when you get a prospect from Australia, he's going to be fundamentally sound. He's going to be able to pass the ball. And Australian players all have size. I mean, other than Patty Mills, like every Australian prospect is like 6'6" or taller and very versatile. But Condon is mobile, good athlete. I have in my notes that he's good at making plays and attacking dribble handoffs. He processes the game quickly. I've seen him make touch passes. I've seen him find cutters. He has a soft jump hook from the left and right, off the left and right shoulder. So
he plays left-handed a lot. Like even his footwork on a catch and shoot jumper are that of a lefty.
I didn't pick that up.
Left foot forward. So
yeah, I didn't know that. So you're saying he shoots left foot forward with his right hand?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I didn't pick up. But I have in my notes that he can impact the game with energy and hustle plays, runs the floor in transition. But I love what he can do out of dribble handoffs as a guy that can attack the rim in space, and then the plays that he can make as a big coming downhill in DHOs and make the right pass on the move. And that's what you want in today's NBA, a good athlete that can put the ball on the floor, make threes. He's shooting a respectable. He's like 34% from three. Not a high volume of attempts.
But you'll take that, though. All you need, to me, all you need, if you're not like a stretch 4-5, but to me, you need to make 33, 34%. If you're a running dunk big, making 34% of your threes, please sign me up for that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to space the floor. However, I do have some concerns. He's only shooting 62% from the foul line, so I don't know if the shooting touch is legit. Even though the wingspan may not be great, he's still averaging 1.4 blocks per game. I mean, I get the appeal and love for the wingspan. I'm not going to hold it against a guy if he doesn't have a massive wingspan. But I do like it if a guy has a crazy long wingspan. But, I look at a guy like JoJo Tugler as somebody's going to draft high because dude's arm, he's got like a 7'6" wingspan. He's like 6'8", but he doesn't have any game. And somebody's going to draft him high because of the length of his arms. To me, I'd rather you have a lot of game to.
Yeah, for sure. Being +4 would help. But hey.
Yep. All right, let's switch to VJ Edgecombe. Edgecombe is a player that is creeping up back to the range that he was at the beginning of the season when everyone had him as a top 5 guy. He had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and 3 steals versus Houston. And that comes off the heels of an 18.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals game versus TCU. We did an episode a couple days ago about the number 3 pick between Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson. And of course, what happens? Ace has a terrible shooting game, and then Trey goes. Was he 0 for 14?
He was bad, man. Ace had a terrible game this week. Jeremiah Fears and or Trey Johnson, they exchanged bad shooting games in the same game. And VJ, he shot well this weekend. So shout out to VJ.
Yep. So my question for you is, do you think he can pass Ace Bailey as the projected number 3 pick in the 2025 NBA draft? There's some people that held on to their Edgecombe stock. Props to you. I was down. I mean, he's had a roller coaster ride for me this season. Started off high, got low. I had him outside my top 14, started playing well in Big 12 play. He seems safe in a sense. I don't know if he's going to bring you, in my opinion, he's not going to bring you the same upside as Ace or Trey, but he seems the safer of the 3.
And like I've said from the jump, I think he's going to be the ultimate complimentary guy who could average probably 18 to 20. Yeah, probably 18 in the NBA next to your superstar point guard, superstar wing. But VJ is making threes, and really that's like the biggest jump And I mean, obviously, like the athleticism, he's got a, dare I say, it, Ja Morant launching pad. Like he dunked in transition.
Ask Mark Few's son.
Man, but even then, he dunked in transition this last game off of 2 feet from outside the paint. Like his launching pad is legit. But the thing about VJ that kind of like worries me is that he has no counter moves, like zero. Like if he has a clear path, he's gonna dunk and he's gonna finish. But if he doesn't have a clear path to the basket, it's just a barrel into the defender. And who did they play last game? Houston. It was probably like 3 fouls that he drew that were definitely offensive fouls because he was just running into people, and he just doesn't have any counter moves in traffic. But again, those are things you can work on. Do I think he can go third? I absolutely think he can go third. Again, I mentioned in the January podcast that I don't necessarily think that Ace Bailey is a lock at 3 because VJ Edgecombe is playing well, and there's always going to be that tape that was out there last summer, Ralph, of VJ Edgecombe playing for the Bahamas, and he was at times the best player on the floor with NBA players on the floor. And he's legit good. Again, he's making threes. He's going to be good in transition. He's going to be a good secondary playmaker, or maybe even tertiary as far as like chase off the line. He can make a play. Maybe you can run some pick and rolls from him. And like you said, he may be one of the safer picks in this draft. And again, depending on how the ping pong balls fall, some GM may go for safe and say maybe we can develop the handle a bit more, and he can turn into a Bahama. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he can be Victor Oladipo type player.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and it's just my opinion, I think Ace and Trey have the higher upside. I think VJ is safer, but I do think that it would benefit him to add a little bit more offensive creativity off the bounce to his game. I mean, he's been productive without it. And so if he adds a little bit more, and I mean, I think that would help him out a whole lot. And maybe he can show it. I mean, we've talked about it before. Baylor held Keontae George back in a sense just because they just had too many small guards. All right, up next, we're going to talk about a couple guys from Texas Tech that I feel like have not been getting a lot of draft love. And we're going to do a draft stock post check on JT Toppin and Christian Anderson. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. I have my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. You can stay in on the action with FanDuel. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something to bet on. And FanDuel app is simple. It is easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, last segment. Let's talk about a couple guys from Texas Tech. Texas Tech is ranked in the top 10. I think they're number 9 in the country.
Yes.
And JT Toppin, I liked him a lot last year at New Mexico. He had a good combine, opted to return for a sophomore year, had just brilliant start to the season. Then he had a lower leg injury that kept him out. He returned. And you can make a case and say he's one of the hottest players in the country. He had 25 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks versus Arizona State on 10 of 19 shooting. And that followed up a 30-point, 14-rebound game where he was 10 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 2 from 3 against Colorado. Now, Toppin is listed at 6'9". There are some people that don't believe he's legit 6'9", but he is a player that, I mean, you talk about just can impact the game with his energy, his hustle plays. He is that pogo stick, quick twitch athlete. The shooting is coming along. He's protecting the rim. But I haven't seen him getting a lot of first-round buzz. Share your thoughts.
I echo a lot of the same sentiments that you have. I don't know about his size, like 6'9", 210. I think that is going to be the deal breaker as far as what vaults him into the first round or keeps him where I have him in the second round. Again, you can't argue the production. Like, dude gets to it. 20 and 10, write it down, is going to happen. And it's crazy. He was in the Mountain West last year as a freshman, an unheralded freshman. He goes to the Big 12 and plays for a top 10 team in the country, same amount of minutes, and he's averaging 18 and 9. Like, he can play, but that's not what it's always about. So again, if he measures out to be like 6'8", 200, then we might have some issues as far as like what is he at the next level, because does he have he has the offensive motor, right? Obviously, he's going to rebound at a high level. You play him with a high level playmaker, pick and roll guard, he's going to play well. But on the defensive end, does he have enough bricks in his back pocket to guard fives? Is he going to stretch the floor enough to be able to play the four? And I think he's athletic enough to defend the four, but will he be able to like guard those, those fake fours that play the three that are playing the four in the NBA today? So, but you can't argue with his production at all. Like, he gets to it. Definition of gets to it.
I agree 100%. I'm not too concerned about the height. I mean, I have to ask myself, why do I have Asa Newell ahead of him? Yes, Asa is 6'11". It's crazy because they have the same agent, and I think there are some similarities there. But I know Asa is consistently ranked ahead of JT Toppin. Will the 2 inches make a difference in draft range? Possibly. And my concern with both guys is, are they 4s or 5s? And I feel like with Asa, people say he's a great rebounder, but he's a very good. Yes, he's a very good rebounder on the offensive end. Defensively, he doesn't grab a ton of rebounds. I don't even know how many 10 rebound games he has this year.
And he gets bullied a lot too, which is why I don't think he's a 5, but he plays like a 5.
So this is a conversation that I had today with someone, with the scout, about Asa Newell. And the conversation was about this draft. Everyone knows pretty much who their top 5 is. And 6 through 14, we don't know who's going where, but most people have a consensus of the players in that order. 15 through 30 is just the mix. Even
I think 15 through 40.
15, all right, we'll say 15 through 40. And I had mentioned Asa Newell, and I'll get to how this relates to JT Toppin. I mentioned Asa Newell is a guy that he's probably in that top 14 range that people talk about. But I have my concerns. Is he a 4 or a 5? And the same with JT Toppin. Is he big enough to play the 5? And I guess your natural mind says 5. You think Jokic, Embiid, right? And so, but it doesn't matter if you're 7'2", 260, you're not going to stop those guys. Even on a bad night, they're going to get their numbers. But then I'm like, all right, they're stuck between a 4 and a 5. Do they have the skill set to play the 4 in today's NBA? And are they big enough to play the 5? And this particular scout made a comment to me that I thought made a lot of sense. He's like, early in their careers, they're going to probably come off the bench and play a role. It's not going to matter if they're 4 or 5, because whoever drafts them is going to look for them to provide energy off the bench. And then in their first 3 or 4 years, it's up to them to add whatever they need to their game to be, to consistently get minutes at the 4, or if you're just going to end up being an undersized 5. So to me, that made sense.
Makes sense.
And he was just saying, like, you draft a Toppin or Asa Newell right now based off what you think they can be, but their role early in their careers is probably not going to be a starter. It's going to be the energy, play finisher, so on. And it's up to the team to develop them. And I thought that made a lot of sense. But I feel like JT Toppin is not getting the love. And I wonder if it's because most draft people are scared that he's not going to measure 6'9" at the combine.
Yeah. Even if he just, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't deter him from rebounding. But he's another like smaller frame guy, very similar to like Alex Condon. But we'll see when the tape measures come out and see how tall JT Toppin is.
But should it really matter? We already know that he measured at the combine last year. He was at the combine last year.
What did he measure at last year?
He measured out at 6'7".
He measured at 6'7". Yeah, that's probably why that.
He measured at 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan.
That's good. I mean, the wingspan being that gap wingspan between your height is great, but at 6'7" at 210 that's gonna be tough. But I mean, you know what? He may be just you may not be able to deny him because he's so energetic and he's gonna crash and he's gonna finish. So it's gonna come down to opportunity too.
If he's an energy guy that can stick and he ends up, I mean, you think that he can stick and play 10 years, then you got to take him in the top 20. All right, let's switch to his teammate, Christian Anderson, highly decorated high school player, prep player, decorated on 2 continents. I mean, he led Oak Hill in scoring. He's one of the all-time leading scorers in Georgia basketball history, I believe. He only played 3 years. Then he won the U18s this summer with Germany. I think his mom is German. And he's a guy that committed to Michigan, ended up decommitting once Michigan got rid of Juwan Howard. He's at Texas Tech. Him and Tahad Pettiford, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the guys from Duke, are the only freshmen playing major minutes on a top 10 team. So it's the 3 guys from Duke or 4 guys. So you got Cooper Flagg, Common Maliwauch, Con Kneppel, Isaiah Evans, and then Tahad Pettiford, and then Christian Anderson. Those are the only 5 guys that are playing significant minutes as a freshman on top 10 teams.
Is Alabama a top 10 team?
Yeah, and I guess we'll fight line.
Yeah.
Fight line, yep. So forgot about that one. With that being said, Christian Anderson hasn't been talked about a lot as far as in the draft. And maybe that's because people think he's a 2-3 year, multi-year guy. He had 21 points against Arizona State. And as a freshman, he's averaging 10 points per game, shooting 41% from 3 on a top 10 team in the country. Do you think Christian Anderson could end up a top 60 prospect on your board for the 2025 NBA draft?
He could be a top 60 prospect, but if I'm a top 60 prospect, then I probably need to go back to school and make some money and then try to come back to be a top 30 prospect. Christian Anderson, Ralph, checks a lot of boxes for a 6'2" guard. I think he's a good playmaker. Obviously, he's very much a great shooter, but I don't know. And maybe it's because it's late at night. Allergies are bothering me. Maybe it's blurry, Ralph. But Synergy has him for 16 layup attempts in the half court all season. And he's shooting 38% on those layups.
So with that being said,
he's a 16.
What's the difference between him and Boogie Flan? Hype?
What's the difference? And preseason hype. Boogie Flan's numbers were bad, but I think Boogie was actually getting there. You know what I'm saying? Like, Boogie's been shut down for some time. Now, I personally think that Boogie should test. I don't even have an issue with Christian Anderson testing because ultimately, like, he can shoot. And I don't need him to be John Morant getting to the basket a lot. It's just a matter of, do you have enough tape to be so – because you ultimately want to be a first-round pick, right? Or at least get an opportunity to be a top 40 pick. Does he have enough film out there to make him a top 40 pick, which means a guaranteed contract? And that is what we're going to find out. But he's at the same time, he is somebody who I could see having like a really strong tournament run because, you know, March Madness and all that it is. And he's a shot maker and he could get hot. But just the finishing at the rim is just like the biggest issue for me. For him, because you're not getting there often and you're not being efficient. And it's like, you're going to have to, even if he is never a high volume, like layup taker, floater taker, like the efficiency has to improve. And that's him, and that's Boogie Flynn. And again, I'm not opposed to Boogie coming back to school to again go from a top.
If you're Boogie, you're out of there. You can't go back to Arkansas.
I'm not saying I'm back to school theoretically. I'm not. If I'm Boogie, I have nothing at Arkansas right now. Like not a PlayStation controller. I'm out. There's no need to go back to Arkansas. I'm saying going back to school in general because his efficiency numbers at the rim were just not good. But I do think he's an NBA talent. I think Christian Anderson has NBA level talent too. It's just a matter of putting yourself in a position to make the most money possible, guaranteed money possible.
Fair assessment. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Check out the Locked On newsletter at lockedondaily.com. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Once again, it's Rafael and James. We are out of here.